Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion? We'll have that
Anytime.
discussion. You called me. You told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good.
Tom Steyer.
Okay.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I'm your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Thursday. I believe it is the 16th. Yep. 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm in a better mood than yesterday, but not by much. Not by much. That was the hot mic, quote unquote, hot mic exchange between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders after the debate that everyone was trying to figure out what was being said. What was being said? Who said what? Well, that's what it was. I will come back to Elizabeth Warren later because, yeah, I'm not going to chase my Warren supporters away at the top of the show. I'll say some things that you like first, and then I'll chase you away by the middle of the show. So let's start here. An observation that I made this morning that I think has to be said over and over and over again. A lot of people, I saw the tweet from John Legend, who said that he was going to vote for Elizabeth Warren in the California primaries. Cool, man. Do your thing. And then the next tweet, he replied, said, oh, my God, I can't believe all these Bernie Sanders supporters are doing him a disservice by coming into my mentions and blah, 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 blah. OK, fine. I can kind of concur with that. If I had my way, I would show all Bernie supporters the strategic value in not scorch earthing every single person every single time. But let's make something clear, something extremely clear here. The only thing that you really have to say why you're not voting for Bernie Sanders. Now, again, I have a couple reasons, but I'm going to vote for him. I think it's the first time I actually just said that sentence outright. I'm going to vote for him. Let's start here. I'm going to start in a different place. The reason I am going to vote for Bernie Sanders, despite my beef with him and his team, some of the inner workings of the campaign that I don't like, that I find troubling enough for me not to want to publicly support him. The reason I'm able to swallow it and support him anyway is because he is the only candidate that is supporting 9 out of 10 of my issues. The 10th being reparations. He's not there yet. And that's another reason why I'm like, yeah, OK, whatever. I'll vote for Bernie Sanders. But the energy that you're hearing in my voice this morning is not out of support of Bernie Sanders' honor and his reputation. I don't care about that. The energy that you're hearing in my voice this morning is solely because I just don't like bullshit. I'm allergic to it. I went to the doctor and they said there's no antidote. I am just simply incapable of sitting around bullshit and not calling it out. Because what we've seen for the last couple of months, for the last couple of years, rather, are people who are still doing this thing of, oh, I don't want to support Bernie Sanders because his supporters are mean. Fine. Gotcha. I would rather they do it a different way. That's how they want to do it. And I understand. I can honestly understand why they scorch the earth with everybody they come in contact with, because maybe they're just as allergic to bullshit as I am. But let's be clear. If your reason for not supporting Bernie Sanders is that you don't like his supporters, that is the most infantile reason possible. And let's also be clear that the reason Bernie Sanders supporters are not supporting Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, and now Elizabeth Warren is because of their policies and their character, quite honestly. I'm going to come back to Liz later on. But let's just start with Pete and Joe Biden. The reason they won't support those two is 100% because of their policies. 100% because we cannot trust them to do anything that they say that they're going to do, except for Joe Biden, because he's honest about the fact that he doesn't want to do anything for us. So it's not the same. You not supporting Bernie Sanders because you don't like his supporters is 100% different than them not supporting Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg because they don't like their policies. One of it is predicated on an infantile type of politics where everybody has to treat you nice and kind. That's not how politics work. And matter of fact, I have been doing a disservice to Bernie Sanders supporters. I have been infecting you with what ails me. I've been spreading my problem with being kind and compassionate. I've changed. I was talking to a friend last night over at the Progressive, not Progressive Voice. I don't like that kid. He's so messy. What is Pragmatic Progressive? AJ over the Pragmatic Progressive. Go check out his channel. And I had to recognize that I'm 100% a totally different person online in 2020, 2019 than I was in 2015. I was a pompous, arrogant, scorched earth. Anywhere there's a fight, let me find that fight. Let's jump in it. Boom, boom, boom. That's what but I'm too old for that now. Like something happened in my life and I'm just like, I am more prone to wanting to be compassionate and understanding people. And I do that as much as I possibly can. I have been spreading that disease amongst Bernie Sanders supporters. Sometimes without consent. You listen to the show. I guess if you're listening to the show, that's consent. But I've been spreading it because I want a kinder place for us to interact. But the truth of the matter is I'm wrong because politics is nothing but scorched earth, cutthroat, disemboweling your political rival. You cannot engage in politics unless it's for posturing and positioning to pretend as though you are a kind person and because you want to try to win people over because you're presenting yourself and your supporters as kind, right? But you cannot engage in politics being kind. I know that's harsh, but I know that's the truth because it is the people who are trying to be considerate, compassionate, and kind who get taken to the woodshed. So I'm sorry, Bernie Sanders supporters, for ever telling you to be kind because they're not going to be kind to you. They will gut you in front of you with a smile on their face, with their nice Midwest jargon, with their old boomer language, saying stuff like malarkey and gee gosh, guys, all while they're gutting you to your face. So. But back to the main point. I'm sorry, I don't even know where that came from. If you don't want to support Bernie Sanders because of his supporters, we can't stop you, do you? But realize that 100% of their support of let me stop doing that, of our opposition. I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. 100, and listen, I want to qualify that. I've got a laundry list of about 3 things. No, it's not a laundry list. I got about 3 things. One of them being reparations. The second being internal problems in the campaign that I'm privy to that really disturb me. And the third thing is something I'll just say there's got to be a third thing and I'll come back when I find it. But all of those things, when I look at this pool of candidates, I cannot support people who don't support the policies that I support. So that leaves me no one else but Bernie Sanders. And you know what? That is your candidate's fault. The reason I can't support your candidate is because your candidate doesn't support what I'm fighting for. So don't pretend like we're the same. You're wagging your finger at Bernie Sanders supporters saying, oh, you're such a bad boy. You're such a bad girl. And we're saying, no, your candidate, their policies suck for America. They suck for our finances. They suck for our personal health. They suck for criminal justice. Matter of fact, let me show you exactly who Joe Biden is and why nobody on God's green earth should ever support this man.
I introduced the balanced budget amendment in 1984. It got nowhere. I'm one of those Democrats who voted for the constitutional amendment to balance the budget. I have introduced on 4 occasions entire plans to balance the budget, knowing I'm not president and I'm not the leader. but for illustrative purposes. I tried with Senator Grassley back in the 80s to freeze all government spending, including Social Security, including everything.
This is your hero. This is your guy. The man who went after Social Security proudly. It was a badge of honor to go after Social Security, to go after Medicare, to go after Medicaid, to go after the safety nets, to go after everything, like he put it, all in the name of balancing the budget. Joe Biden is either the dumbest person in the entire equation of American political history, or he's complicit with this paradigm that makes everyday Americans suffer so that there can be just enough money squeezed out to give another dollar to defense contractors. And you think you not supporting Bernie Sanders because we're mean, his supporters are mean, is the same as us not supporting Joe Biden because we know he is going to fundamentally harm the working class, the middle class, the elderly, the sick, the impoverished. We're not the same. You're petulant. You are hypersensitive. You can't handle politics, or you're using the political, quite Machiavellian tool that I actually rather respect, of trying to demand your opponent and their supporters be gentle with you while you simultaneously gut us while staring us in the face. We extend a hand to you while you come back and gaslight us, saying that we called you a liar on national television. Now, in terms of politics, I respect that. But also in terms of politics, don't expect anything else from us but a scorched earth campaign going forward. I didn't make the rules. I didn't want to play by these rules. I wanted us to be kumbaya and get along, especially with Team Warren, because I got a lot of friends over there at Team Warren. Love y'all to death. I'm not going to argue with you all personally, but I cannot sit back and watch the bullshit happen because I am allergic. I break out into hives if I don't say something about the bullshit. And quite honestly, you also know, you know it's bullshit. But the lines have been drawn, the teams have been divided, the trenches have been dug, and the battle of attrition is about to set in. And whatever happens in the general, it happens. And it's not our fault, and it's certainly not mine.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Here we go. Let's get this patron party started. Special thank you. Listen, the name is Free R. Kelly. I'm going to say your name, but I'm also going to say, hell no, don't free R. Kelly. Thank you for becoming a patron. Bro Bra. Thank you for becoming a patron. Michael Traeger, thank you for editing your pledge and increasing it to what you increased it to. Thank you for doing that. Special thank you to Kimberly Dunahan, Doulahan. Thank you for increasing your pledge. Special thank you to Claire for increasing your pledge. Special thank you. I'm going to come back to this guy in a minute. Special thank you to Solomon for increasing your pledge. And special thank you to Tort Ma for becoming a patron. Now, I had one young guy who became a patron yesterday who said that he would do it just so that he can get a shout out on top of this corny music that only hipster white people could dance to. And I'm like, young blood, you don't know go-go music from the DMV? Well, I'm going to flip it just for him. Welcome aboard, Brother Jared Brown. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Now, everybody bop your head for just about 20 seconds. Go. You know what I'd like? I would love for people to send me a video of you bopping to any of the patron music. Just send me a 5-second clip of you bopping to the patron music, and I'll share it definitely in the live stream that's coming up. You too can be a part of this prestigious and prodigious family by going to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and becoming a patron today.
Your attorney told a federal court in New York that you were both Rudy Giuliani's clients and you were working for Mr. Giuliani in his capacity as personal attorney to the president.
Correct.
Which, by the transitive property, makes it seem like you were working for the president of the United States as part of his legal defense.
Yes, absolutely.
And so did anybody in the U.S. government or Mr. Giuliani actually convey to officials in Ukraine that you were there as a representative of President Trump?
Absolutely. To each one of those officials that I put Rudy on the phone with Minister Avakov several times, Ivan Bakanov, Yuri Lutsenko at the time was the general. The first thing I did is to introduce myself and tell him I'm here on behalf of Rudy Giuliani and the President of the United States, and I'd like to put you on speakerphone for you to confirm him, which we did. We put Rudy on the phone. Rudy relayed to him basically that we were there on behalf of the President of the United States.
That you were there to speak on President Trump's behalf.
Correct, exactly. Those exact words.
Okay, wow. That was Lev Parnas in an interview with Rachel Maddow last night. Not exactly the news that I want to cover, but I have to be, I got to do my job. But Lev Parnas, if you don't know him, he's an associate of Rudy Giuliani, who apparently aided him with his search for information on Joe Biden. And this was an interview last night at some key takeaways that are really damning for the Trump administration, particularly leading up to the impeachment trial, which the House just voted to pass the articles of impeachment over to the Senate. And this is a testimony that they do not want to happen on the floor or during the trial. This is what Mitch McConnell and all the Republicans have closed ranks around and have decided to just go through with a kabuki theater versus any type of real substantive trial. And very directly, Mitch McConnell said that he is going to be in lockstep with the President of the United States on this.
We'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in total coordination with the White House counsel's office and the people who are representing the President in the well of the Senate. Everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the President's position and our position as to how to handle this. There's no chance the President's going to be removed from office. My hope is that there won't be a single Republican who votes for either of these articles of impeachment.
There you have it. So very clear that Mitch McConnell has a long time ago decided that there would not be a trial of any substance. And so last night, Lev Parnas, the testimony that he would have given to the Senate trial, during the Senate trial, went to Rachel Maddow on MSNBC and said everything that I played at the top. The interview was long, but here's what basically he said. He said that, listen, Trump threatened to withhold more than just military aid from Ukraine. He claimed, according to thehill.com, to withhold all aid from Ukraine if it did not publicly announce an investigation into the Bidens. And he delivered that very harsh message to Ukrainian officials on behalf of Giuliani and Trump. The message was this. It wasn't just military aid. It was all aid. He said, basically, the relationship would sour. We would stop giving them any kind of aid. So this is, that's all you need right there to justify finding the president guilty. Now, we knew this, and I'm not downplaying this because we knew it, but to hear it so clearly, damn. The second thing was he implicated Attorney General Barr, saying that he had to have known everything. Again, according to The Hill, Giuliani's associate continued by connecting Attorney General Bill Barr, to the pressure campaign, saying that Giuliani had contacted the Attorney General about the attempts to get Ukraine to announce a Biden investigation. Barr hadn't to have known everything, he said. Attorney General Barr was basically on the team. Okay. Again, you saw the smoke. You assumed that there was fire because you saw smoke. You saw the writing on the wall, whatever cliche you want me to insert there. But it's something else to hear it directly from the person who was conveying the message to Ukraine. Number 3, Trump knew exactly what was going on. Parnas also directly connected Trump to the Ukraine pressure campaign to investigate the Biden, saying the president knew exactly what was going on. Rachel Maddow asked Parnas about the main inaccuracy or the main lie being told that he felt he could correct. He responded that the president didn't know what was going on. President Trump knew exactly what was going on. Parnas continues saying, I'm sorry, that particular sentence is really kind of ambiguous. Whoever wrote this article, there's so much ambiguity in that sentence, but I digress. The article continues. Parnas continued saying that he would not act without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president, and added that Trump's claim that he doesn't know Parnas is a lie. I mean, there's clip after clip. This is a damning interview. Number 4, he alleged Pence skipped Zelensky's inauguration because of Ukraine pressure campaign. And here it is. Parnas accused Vice President Mike Pence of being in the know, adding that the vice president's planned trip to Ukraine, President Zelensky's inauguration, was canceled because the country refused to announce a Biden investigation. Oh, I know 100%, Parnas says. It was 100%. When Rachel Maddow asked if the vice president knew that he was involved in a quid pro quo, Lev Parnas quoted Ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland. You remember the guy who testified, who looked at the camera with the most fantastic look ever. I wish we were streaming live so I could put up the picture of this guy's look. That's Gordon Sondland. And so in response to Rachel Maddow's question of whether or not the vice president knew, he quoted Gordon Sondland and said, everybody was in the loop. And last but not least, Lev Parnas made it clear that this was never about corruption, but strictly about Burisma, which is basically about Ukraine investigating Joe Biden on behalf of President Trump. Folks, if there was any justice in the world, there's so many occasions and so many times that Donald Trump should have been impeached, but this, and not only impeached, but removed from office, but this is an open and shut case. The problem is that we have a Republican Senate that is 100% going to allow Donald Trump to get away with anything he wants to get away with. They are making him above the law. We say no one is above the law, but the Senate is aiding and abetting this criminality. Obviously, this is a call for us to flip the Senate, for us to get Republicans out of power. But by the time we get Republicans out of power, it will be possibly too late because Donald Trump will already have been voted out of power. But here's the thing. Regardless of what other people are telling you, what other commentators are telling you, this process itself was necessary. And if the House had not gone through with the impeachment proceedings and the articles of impeachment, it would have been an abdication of their constitutional duty. So let's see how this plays out now that Lev Parnas' testimony is a matter of public record. Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. No, seriously. I got to wrap it up. Got to head to the city to record a client that I'm going to be excited about telling you about. But anyway, I have to get back to this Warren thing. So back in 2015, it had to be 2016, obviously, during the primaries. I was very upset. Let me start here. I just have to just lay the groundwork for this. Anyone who's listened to my show for any significant amount of time knows that there's a special place in my schoolboy heart for Elizabeth Warren because I've liked her since I first saw her work. Like the nerd in me. When I say schoolboy, I mean like the nerd in me when I had a teacher who was just thoroughly dope. Right? A teacher who made me excited about learning. That's how I always looked at Elizabeth Warren. Always. Quite frankly, still do. But I have to juxtapose what makes me fond of her with all of the stuff that is happening in the last week. And in 2016, I was furious with her when she refused to come out in favor of Bernie Sanders, when Bernie Sanders had literally held up his entire consideration for running for president on her behalf. But even after that, I settled down. I, tucked away my little feelings and, because, all of us, let's be real. Everybody ties their emotions into politics. We do. It might be one of the dumbest things that we do as human beings, but we do. So I tucked away my emotions and I'm like, you know what? She could win. She can survive Donald Trump's Pocahontas and all that slandering that he does, that racist slandering that he does. She could survive that because the nerd in me saw her doing the work. But when she started wavering on Medicare for all, it was just hard. I'm like, the issue is too important. Some of us cannot afford to have anything short of someone going to Washington, D.C. with the full intention of just knocking heads and getting shit done. We can't afford it. We can't afford to take the chance on somebody who wavers on Medicare for all. And then it's like, okay, I'm fully for it. And then later on, like, oh, we'll have a pathway. Oh, that's where we'll end. And so, I'm saying this because I want you to see that there are a lot of people who were doing their damnedest to support Elizabeth Warren. And this most recent episode just is the nail in the coffin. Will I support her if she becomes a nominee? Yes. Hell, I'll support Joe Biden if he becomes a nominee. That's me. I'm not expecting anyone in my audience to do that. I will try to persuade you. Yes, I will. You're going to get tired of me trying to persuade you because there's a white supremacist in the White House. There's a fascist in the White House. But let me tell you something. Between now and that time, we're going to do everything in our capabilities to make sure that none of them get the nomination, that Bernie Sanders gets the nomination. And it's not because I'm a fan of him personally. It's not because I'm a fan of his team whatsoever. I mean, I love Nina Turner, and Bree is cool with me. And Phil Agnew, he's a surrogate. He's cool. Jamal, he's cool. A couple other people that are cool. So, I mean, but still, it's not about me liking Sanders or his team. It's 100% about the policy. 100%. I have to reluctantly support Bernie Sanders because nobody else has the conviction that I can't look at anyone else and say, do or die. I know that when they get in office, they're going to fight for Medicare for all. I know when they get in office, they're going to cancel student debt. I know when they get in office, they're going to reduce the military industrial complex. I don't expect Bernie Sanders to end the military industrial complex. Let's be reasonable. Internationally, he's going to still be an imperialist. But on every single thing that I'm fighting for, everything else that I'm fighting for, I know without a shadow of a doubt that he's going to go in there and fight for it to his dying breath. I cannot say that about anybody else in this race. So funny enough, strangely enough, I'm voting for the lesser evil by voting for Bernie Sanders. Other people will put it this way. They're voting for the compromise. Bernie Sanders is the compromise. So I want every one of you who support Elizabeth Warren, who's been in my audience, and there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been, and when I say back and forth, I mean going back and forth of who supports who, and because most of us, if you got started in this political thing, in like Twitter, I've been doing politics since like 2007, right? But I didn't get on Twitter until like 2014. And I didn't start my show until like late 2014, December, early January, 2015. If you were just getting heavy into politics in 2015, there's a good chance you were 100% run, Warren, run. I was 100% Warren. And it was my older brother who had to call me one day and say, Ben, I never hear you talking about this guy, Bernie Sanders. And you know my reaction to him? I was like, yeah, but I just don't think he can win. I had to be sold on Bernie Sanders. And then when Elizabeth Warren decided not to run, I was like, well, I guess that's all we have is Bernie Sanders. So I want people to clear it. I'm saying all this for one reason. You will get no cult of personality on my show. You're not going to get hero worship on my show of any politician. What you're going to get is a measured analysis, taking everything into consideration. And when I put everything on the table, there's just no way I can support anybody else but Sanders in these primaries. I will reluctantly do what I have to do in the general. See you tomorrow.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.